I'm wearing a sleep dress. When I tell y'all, final season came for my guts. Not an exaggeration. Hey guys, it's Sarah, and today I'm going to be filming the disclaimer, or the no disclaimer tag. And I was tagged by Chanelle Time and the Procrastinator Files, and let's just get into it. I am so rude. I forgot to say thank you guys so much for tagging me. It means the world. Back to the video. So, the first question is, what are some tropes that annoy you? A couple of tropes that annoy me, first and foremost, the biggest trope that annoys me is love triangles. I absolutely hate love triangles. I feel like most of the time that they're done poorly. They're angsty, but they're like cheap angst as opposed to proper angst. A lot of the time I feel no sympathy for the people involved. It's really gross. And it puts the worst aspect of all the characters involved up on a pedestal in the story, usually. That being said, I do acknowledge that love triangles can be done properly. Like, for example, in The Hunger Games, a book that I love, it's known for its love triangle. And in that aspect, I can forgive the usage of this trashy trope because it serves a proper purpose, and it like is used to develop a character as opposed to exposing a character's flaws. And what I mean by that is Katniss has to choose between Gale, who's very similar to her. They're very familiar with one another, like two peas in a pod, right? Versus Peeta, who is warm, kind, like nice, just everything good. He's the exact opposite of Katniss in a lot of regards. And so her choosing between Gale and Peeta is her choosing between a life that she currently leads and a life that she wants to lead, right? I can acknowledge that. It was a good usage of the trope that I hate. But a lot of the times it's just trashy, not done well. And I also hate miscommunication. I feel like it's really trashy, cheap, whatever. I feel like relationships are hard enough to portray properly, and relationships are hard enough to live through without having to add an element of, well, he came to the dance with this random girl and that girl turns out to be this guy's sister. You know, that's just unnecessary. And again, it like puts the worst aspect of these characters on display, which is something that you would never want to see in a healthy relationship. So the next question is, which writers do you feel are overrated and or overhyped? So I think Sarah J. Maas and Cassandra Clare are extremely overrated. Sarah J. Maas more so than Cassandra Clare, because I can see why people really like Cassandra Clare. Sarah J. Maas, I don't understand. Her books are so, like, I don't know the word for it, like, they're just so bland. Everything is so bland about it. Yeah, it's just so bland. I can't stand it. I can't stand her. I can't stand her writing. I read her, A Court of whatever series, and it was just so bland. So bland. Nothing made sense. I couldn't stand Vera. Whatever. The next question is least favorite book read since joining BookTube. So I haven't been here very long. I've been here for like a month. a month. But one book that I will say that I read within the month and a half-ish of starting BookTube is Four Dead Queens, which I'll just stop right there. Next question. What is a bad ending that ruined an otherwise quality book? So my answer for this is, like, I had to like rake my brain. So what I ended up going with was The Wicked King by Holly Black. And I liked The Cruel Prince, and I liked The Wicked King, and I liked a lot of it. And I liked the ending too. I feel like it had like a nice little twist. And you're probably like, why are you talking about it? Well, what I didn't like was how, when the book ended, spoiler alert, Jude was like in love with Carden. Yeah, I did not like that at all. I don't like that element of the story in general. I feel like the plot is very succinct, it's very tight, it's very like, there's always a plot twist happening. The atmosphere, very lush, very decadent, whatever. Just the romance is so unnecessary, and it's so toxic. So whenever like the book ended and she was like, I'm in love with Carden, and then the next, like, you know how the next book is gonna start, and like the summary is like, she's in love with Carden. I'm like, are you though? Are you really in love with Carden? Please say you're joking. Please say psych. So yeah, just that kind of like put a bad taste in my mouth, and I hope that in The Queen of Nothing, like, that's resolved, but like resolved by her not being in love with him anymore. Okay, the next question is fictional characters you wish hadn't died off. So no one on BookTube that I've seen has been like gushing over this book, so like I'm gonna talk about it and you guys are gonna be like, who the hell is she talking about? But The Ice Cream Queen of Orchid Street by Susan Jane Gilman, or Orchard Street by Susan Jane Gilman, is such a good book, and I highly recommend it, which I'll bring up later because there's another question about books that are underrated. But a character dies in here, Albert, and I just wish he hadn't. I cried. I was like listening to the audiobook in my job when I used to work, and whenever he died, I gasped. I hated, but I also liked how he died, and just I don't think he should have died. Oh, shit, something fell. I don't know, I just wish he hadn't died. He's so sweet. He's so sweet. I love him. I love him. But yeah, just he's a character that I wish hadn't died. Like, my jaw dropped when he died. My heart dropped. I was like, please stay psych. Take him to the ER. The next question is bookish pet peeves. So pet peeves that I have in regards to books, like when authors write books, center on when there's like a lack of diversity, especially in fantasy. I like in regular contemporary fiction, okay, whatever, you went to a high school that had no black people, whatever, cool, next. But like in fantasies where authors are building a world with like mythical creatures and different races and like different nations that are at war with one another and like magic and all of the, like dragons, whatever. Like all these things are going on and they can't put like people of different skin color, people from different cultures in the story. Like, I just feel like it's so trashy. It's one of my biggest pet peeves, especially with YA fantasies, whenever authors have the audacity to write, like, an epic fantasy or write, like, about kingdoms at war, and they're all white. I'm like, okay. And then also just bad magic systems. I think it's so dumb. Like, don't even try attempting a magic system. Like, don't make it, like, a part of your world if you're not gonna put some effort into it. It doesn't have to be unique. It just has to make sense. And then bland main characters. And I'm not gonna name names, but some of these books have all three. Next, what are some books you feel should have more recognition? As I said, The Ice Cream Queen of Orchard Street. Love the book. I highly recommend it. It's historical fiction. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And then there's Jane Doe by Victoria Stone, which I have somewhere here. Right here. That book is so much fun. It is about a sociopath, Jane, who goes on an adventure, essentially, to get revenge on a guy. And it's just such a fun book. And it's so fast. I read it in like one day, so recommend that. And then Sea Prayer by Khaled Hosseini, which is a picture book. It's very short, very small. I wish everyone would read that. Because, you know, here in America, like, immigration comes into, and like refugees acceptance and stuff like that, comes into politics every other day. Like, it's always a debate. And I feel like the empathy and like the people, the individual people, get lost in the mass numbers that we talk about, get lost in like the way we talk about the world and how it's like falling apart. You know, we lose the individuals who get on these boats and who have to pray for safe passage. So I would wish everyone read that. And then the last question, or the second to last question, is thoughts on censorship and banning books. So no, I don't agree with that. Usually when people try and ban books, it's because obviously the written word is powerful. And my reasoning for that is that I feel like when it comes to censoring books, essentially what you're doing is you're making that idea all the more tantalizing, especially when it comes to bad things, like bad ideologies that are presented in the written word. So whenever you take a book and you're like, you can't read this, it's censored, basically what that's saying to the people who agree with this line of thinking is, oh, we are being persecuted, oh, we are being victimized, oh, our words are being covered up, it must be the truth. You're just validating them. Like, there's nothing worse than a bigot who thinks that they're being villainized and that they're actually being oppressed in a society. Like, that leads to nothing good happening. So yeah, censorship, not a good thing at all, 0. And then the last question is, who do you tag? Everyone. I feel like anyone who I actually personally know has already done the tag, and if you haven't, do it. If you like, here's an invitation to you. I don't know any individual people to name that haven't already like been tagged or haven't already done it, so here's your call to action. If you're waiting for someone to tag you, I tag you. Is that everything? I feel like that's everything. It's everything. Thank you to Chanelle and Fizzy for tagging me. That's all. Bye guys.